took naps, we went on walkabouts, and we chased turtles. This summer scanned, during the program we decided to complete a scanning of a few areas that were markedly missing from last year's set of scans. This summer scanned and digitized areas included an incredible Roman bath and inn complex in its northeastern corner, a Piscatalian adobe-like retaining wall dating from the 6th century BC, and a Roman villa that sat on the southern edge of the hill. This is the Roman villa, the wall, and the bath and inn complex. My roommate Constantina and I took on the project of doing most of the scanning for the Roman bath and the entire Piscatalian wall, which were incredibly complicated scans because of the area's many angles, the dense overgrown vegetation, and the less than helpful outdated site map. At the end of the summer program, and after many hours of detail-oriented editing, the group of 5 students succeeded in joining this year's new data together, creating a comprehensive image. This is part of the Roman bath complex that Constantina and I worked on. And as you can see, there are many nooks and crannies that we would have to account for. I think we took a total of 17 scans in this one area just to get all of the angles. We were perching, we were crouching to get down in this area and then make sure we got over the hill. We were in this vegetation. We were messy. It was everywhere. We were even perched up here at one point so we could get a great downward scan of all the different angles. This is the adobe retaining wall from the 6th century BC, and as you can see, they've built a permanent structure over it, but this wall is deteriorating at a rapid pace because of weather and just the nature of the wall itself. So this is where the digital recording comes in great strides, because we can keep it digitally. While the actual thing may once disappear, we still have a great 3D digital recreation of it. Here you can see Lulu in one of the main, very complicated areas. So you can see how many angles there are that we had to work with. Anything behind this column back here we could not see. So we had to make sure that we got in different areas. You can see all the overgrowth and the vegetation. And this is Constantina down in the area, once again getting the different angles of the wall and the columns. And these are the columns that were just in that last picture. This is our finished project. This is the Piscatalian wall, and it will eventually be joined with last year's data and next year's data. I wish I had a zoomed-in version of it, but you can see how great it was that we got this whole area. Before in the whole site map, this area would look like this. So we got some great details, full point cloud that we rendered together, and eventually next year students will put that in with their new information and join our year's information with everything that exists now. So Constantina and I were very, very proud of this. At the end, we digitally rendered a largely complete electronic site map, 3D, with high-resolution photographs. Surprisingly, there are still many areas of the site that need to be scanned. The site itself is expansive and there remains much work to be done. But this year's students were very proud of the great work we have accomplished. This is another of my favorite sites. We hid behind this column a lot, and we ducked behind this wall a lot. One of my favorite pictures is Demetrius, who's like 6'8". He's standing on this, like this in one of our scans, just because he knew it wasn't going to count. During this 5-week program, I was introduced to entirely new technology and archaeological practices, training that I am confident will come into use as I study to complete my Master's of Art in Museum Studies and begin an eventual career in collection, exhibition, and archiving. I recently started my Master's that utilizes online learning and online learning to explore the new world of museums and collections, a program that preaches the usefulness and international scope of making collections and sites available digitally. I will particularly focus on learning how to incorporate digitization and conservation into the museum world today, with an aim to work with smaller collections and exhibiting their pieces electronically and creating effective archives, while maintaining the practice of heritage management. This time in Greece has made my future plans and ambitions much clearer to me, and without the generous support of the Macaulay family and friends, this clarity would have been much harder to come by. Once again, I wholeheartedly thank the Macaulay family and friends for their kind-hearted sponsorship. I hope that my time in Greece assures you that your confidence was not misplaced when you decided to sponsor me. Again, thank you very much. At this time, I would love to take any questions anyone may have. I can explore more about the point clouds or the ancient site if you're at all interested. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. Yes.
Aubrey, what's the 3D image? How is it going to be available? As a DVD or?
Their first step is putting it up in the Elefsina Cultural Center that they have. It's a small building, not a lot in there. And they also have a museum on site actually behind this church overlooking the Roman Villa area. They want to make that an interactive model first. They kind of claim rights to everything that we're working on over there because they are the ones who have allowed us on. So what they do with it first will depend on what steps they take next. I did talk to one of the chancellors there, and he said that their main focus is to make it interactive, kind of fly through with the site. And there's actually a YouTube clip of that already. And it's just from last year's data, so it's still very patchy and in beginning stages. But after the 4 years, that fly through is going to be amazing.
So potentially it could be available to everyone depending upon the owners.
Definitely.
Okay.
The Center for Advanced Spatial Technology from University of Arkansas, they have fly-throughs and walk-throughs Machu Picchu and the Fayum and Amarna, actually in Egypt. And then they did this great project in Italy with an old villa. And you can walk through the villa, and what they've done with the 3D data is that they've then recreated what it would look like in ancient times. So you can walk through and see the reflecting pool, and you can walk through and see the murals and the mosaics. So, and that's taken the data that CAST worked on with their 3D scanning and high-definition photography and built that up into a great product.
So would that be available if we went on the University of
It is.
Arkansas
You
right
can,
now?
you can
Yeah,
go
it is
walk through the
available,
villa right
essentially.
now. You can go fly over Machu Picchu or walk through the villa right now.
Oh,
Yeah. And they also have a digitization project of their collection of artifacts. So it's already, so they're doing it in their small museum, and that's also available online. So, but for Elysis, it's the first time that they allowed anyone, because it hasn't been excavated since the early 20th century. So it's the first time that the archaeological the people responsible, which is a state kind of organization, allowed anyone to access this and open their doors and gave them support and the building, and they can do the digitization. It's the first time since the 1920s or so.
So they've actually let anyone on with.
So it's a big deal for Greece. Now, at the time that Aubrey was there, in fact, there's a very small museum there, which houses some artifacts, and they broke into it and stole some. So
While I was there.
that was horrible. And then they caught some of the artifacts, but it's really...
The house I was showing you earlier, the one that was disrupting the data, that's a storehouse for objects, and it's right on the edge, and it's not really watched. All of the guard towers are over this way, over near the museum.
It's very close, as you say, to an ugly area.
The industrial area.
Industrial area with a refinery, so it's very awkward.
Yes.
Could you just say a few words about how your studies in the department here at LMU prepared you to be able to participate in this and understand the significance of it?
I was an interdisciplinary student here. I studied classics, but I took archaeology classes, took cultural classes, and so the ancient Greek classes that I took gave me that appreciation of ancient culture, religion especially. This is one of the largest cult sites from ancient times. And then the language itself, actually, in modern Greek, gave me the capability to, or ancient Greek gave me the capability to navigate my way around the modern Greek over there, looking at signs. But also, it gave me different tools. It gave me artistic tools. It gave me cultural, historical, language tools that all came together and made it possible for me to really contribute to this program. I got there, and when I found out that people have already been restoring 6th century mosaics, and I'm just kind of like, I just graduated. I wasn't sure how much I was going to be able to contribute, but by the second day, I knew that the training I had received in the Department of Classics and Archaeology really made an impact on my time there. I was able to open my mouth and say something intelligible. and offer opinions on where priorities were for artifacts from my training in archaeology and just for the overall cultural meaning. And that's what the government in Elefsina is trying to figure out right now, is how much does this site matter to us and what should we do with it. So definitely, I'm very thankful for my time here.
And they told me because I was obviously recommending Aubrey for the program, that she was probably one of the brightest students in the 2 years. So that tells us something, and she was very committed and hardworking, because she's done, on her free time, she was my research assistant for 3 years, so she had no free time.
But I want to thank you, Dr. Zachariah, for putting my name forward and so wholeheartedly recommending and believing in me. This situation and my relationship with the colleagues would not come around if it wasn't for you. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. And now Genevieve will say a couple of words, because she also was one of the people who benefited. She's going to be very quick, but she wrote a letter that I wanted her to share with you, because she is where Aubrey is now. She's a bit younger and started at 16 learning Greek and did so very well in the National Greek exam. She scored really the highest grade so far. So